Hello YouTube, it's MegaT22 here, and welcome to my guide to the Warden title. If you've been struggling to push that 500% enrage milestone, then hopefully this guide will suit you perfectly. I'd like to begin by stating that this guide is aimed at players who are already familiar with the boss. It will not be going over simpler things such as special attack rotations and the specifics of each and every mechanic. That being said, if you are a total beginner, Wales and Junesong have made excellent guides that can get you started, which are linked in the description below. Without further ado, let's jump into the requirements. I've based the requirements and recommendations that this guide offers based on what is practical versus impractical for required, and what is more convenient for recommended. So as we move forward, do please try to understand this logic. First off, you are required to have at least tier 80 magic armor with a tier 90 magic weapon. A wand and shield switch of at least tier 85/tier 90 is also required. As you can see in the examples below, on the left I have full Virtus with Cinderbane gloves and the tier 90 seismic wand and tier 90 merciless kite shield. This is generally what I use from 100 to 350% in rage. On the right, I have switched out my Virtus mask and boots for primeval. Although not required, and I have done up to 500% without the tank armor before, it does provide a significant enough difference and should be used if available. When using the 350% plus gear setup, it is imperative that you have a primeval glove switch in your inventory for the sake of the defensive ability reset. This will be explained in more detail later. Other requirements include access to level 95 prayers and overloads for the sake of offensive ability, World Wakes quest for access to the Sunshine ability, Onslaught for the sake of a smooth Phase 3 and Phase 5, Dread Nips because their stuns enhance ability combos and make the kill go much smoother overall. Like, really, they are a huge difference. And finally, knowledge of how to release a detonation, auto attack, and wild magic all in one tick. I will not be explaining the Deto Auto Wild Magic method in this video because Junesong has already made a wonderful guide on how to do so. It will be linked in the description below. Next up, we have the recommendations. I've provided my inventory, gear, and Beast of Burden setups here if you wish to copy them so that you may have a basis of your own. Each number represents something that I greatly recommend having, so let's list them off in ascending numerical order. Number 1, the Rune Pouch. I highly recommend this item as using it essentially saves 2 slots or 3 if worn, as it allows you to store 3 different types of runes, up to 16,000 for each type. Number 2, a weapon with the Planted Feet Invention perk. This makes Sunshine last at least 6 seconds longer, which oftentimes allows you to throw in another threshold or 2 within the Sunshine. Number 3, Amulet of Souls. I recommend this item because it makes protection prayers negate 60% of the damage, up from 50%, and has the chance to make Soul Split flicks more rewarding due to the chance of having a higher heal from Soul Split. Number 4, Ring of Vigor. This allows you to retain 10% adrenaline when casting an ultimate ability. Its usefulness is self-explanatory. Number 5, Cinderbane Gloves. When combined with Weapon Poison, these gloves are the best in slot for Telos, and are only worth about 1.5 mil. Needless to say, definitely worth the grab. Number 6, Pantheon Aura. This nifty aura is gifted to players who bought the Golden Premier package, and it allows you to commune 2 additional signs of life that last for an hour. Number 7, Guthic Staff. The Guthic Staff is highly recommended as not only can its special attack be used as a more than viable threshold ability, but the effect of its special attack reduces the target's defense. Number 8, Primeval Gloves. This is only recommended when using the 2 other pieces of Primeval. You bring this piece along to trigger a reset in defensive abilities after using Immortality to avoid the insta-kill attack on Phase 5. Moving on, there are also some invention perk recommendations that I have. For your armors, I would highly recommend Biting 3, which can be downgraded to Biting 2 considering the expensive price of Biting 3, Impatient 3, Enhanced Devoted 3, and Crackling 3. For your main weapon, I recommend having Aftershock 3 along with Precise 5. On your alternate weapon or wand, I recommend having at least the Planted Feet perk. However, if you have the money, I would more highly recommend going for the Aftershock 2 plus Planted Feet perk, so that switching to the wand does not reset Aftershock's progress. I will not explain how to get these perks, but a quick Google search of each one should have plenty of handy Wikia and Reddit pages that will help you out plenty. Other recommendations include starting the kill at 100% adrenaline, Not only does this guide begin phase 1 at 100% adrenaline, but beginning the kill at 100% makes the phase go significantly smoother. Enhanced Excalibur. This item provides very handy heals and is obtained by completing the Hard Stasis Village task set. An enhanced version is unlocked for completing the Elite task set. Scrimshaw of Elements. This item increases the base damage of all your attacks and therefore is highly recommended. If you cannot afford to continuously maintain this aura, I recommend switching it out for a God Book, which has passive stats that will help you with the battle. Accuracy Auras. Auras such as Maniacal and Runic Accuracy are highly recommended, and would be required if I didn't push beyond 400% with Dark Magic. Accuracy auras make a world of difference in the kill, and beyond 350%, an accuracy aura can shave off about 2 to 3 minutes of the kill. Now that the recommendations are done, let's begin moving into the actual kill itself. Before we begin, please understand that the following phase panels are only what I think should be the basic structure and priority to keep in mind whilst killing Telos. They are not necessarily to be followed specifically 100% of the time, as a small mistake or mishap must be adapted to immediately. One of the most useful skills in Telos is being able to adapt to changes quickly, especially if mistakes are made. Also keep in mind that subsequently, visuals of each phase may not perfectly match the outline of each phase, but the outlines should still be kept in mind. That being said, let's move into phase 1. Starting at 100% adrenaline, you want to Sunshine and then initiate the fight. Vuln and Sonic Wave Telos on the same tick, move into an impact, sip your adrenaline potion, and then asphyxiate. I like to cast a rack just as the third hit of my asphyxiate triggers, as it is a small increase in DPS and adrenaline. Next, Sonic Wave once more, deep impact, and then rack. At this point, depending on how much your Genip is stunned Telos, you want to start charging your detonation at 65% plus adrenaline. Once this is done, release your detonation, auto attack, and wild magic all in the same tick to escape from Telos' tendrils. Once this is done, get another asphyxiate in, followed by another deep impact plus rack. Dodge Telos' charge, run into the beam, and if he is not less than 15 to 20k to phasing, then Omni Power and DPS as normal until he phases. For phase 1, it is important to keep in mind that you want to start the kill not targeting anything, as if you have something else targeted and it has not been killed, you will not be able to Sunshine until you target Telos, which can hinder the smoothness of your rotation. In order to accomplish this, as your player puts their weapon down, cast Anticipate or another defensive ability. This way, you will not be targeting anything once you start the kill. Here's an example of one of my best phase 1s. As you can see, I start at 100% and initiate the fight as I Sunshine. I Vuln and Sonic Wave same tick, impact, and adrenaline pod up to asphyxiate. I then rack into another Sonic Wave, and seeing that my Genip's stunned, I take advantage and add in a bleed. I charge my Dedo and release it, getting out of tendrils almost flawlessly. Next, I use another asphyxiate and rack, and then dodge Telos' charge into the green beam, finishing the kill with an Omni Power into wild magic. Now that you've got an idea of phase 1, let's move into phase 2. Phase 2 is actually pretty simple, as there's no specific rotation you need to follow to ensure that it doesn't go extremely wrong. However, this panel is to ensure that you get the fastest phase 2 possible, as the faster your kill, the less food you will use. If you begin phase 2 with tendrils, escape the tendrils with an auto Dedo wild magic, and then move into the following rotation. If you don't begin with tendrils, then you may begin with the following rotation. Begin by Vulning and getting off a natural instinct. Then, build adrenaline to a Sunshine. After you Sunshine, DPS as normal from here until phase 3, all the while dodging the normal mechanics. It's actually pretty simple. But, you have to be sure not to phase Telos into phase 3 during or directly after a Tendrils special attack. This is extremely important. Also, when you end the phase, make sure you end it with 100% adrenaline and a Guthic Staff debuff on Telos. It'll make your phase 3 a lot smoother. Here's an example of one of my best phase 2s. I start with a Vuln and build to the Natural Instinct, casting it as soon as possible. I then move into a Sunshine and DPS as best I know how, while simultaneously dodging all mechanics. You'll also notice that I try my best to keep Telos and myself out of the Black Beam, as doing so will make the phase faster. The only thing I failed to do was apply the Guthic Staff debuff to Telos prior to phasing. As seen, phase 2 is incredibly simple. Now for phase 3. You want to begin the phase by immediately vulning and combusting on the same tick, and then deploying a Gen-Nip whilst running into the nearest corner in order to prevent any beams from spawning on Telos. Whilst you run into the corner, Wild Magic and Asphyxiate as well. Then, Corruption Blast, or another basic ability if you don't have it, and move into the red beam as soon as possible. Once in the beam, Adrenaline pot up to an Onslaught. While in the Onslaught, deploy another Gen-Nip if necessary, and then activate your Excalibur. DPS is normal until Telos phases. Let's watch one of my best P3s for an example. As you can see, I Vuln and Combust in the same tick, deploy the Gen-Nip, run to the corner, and proceed to Wild Magic and Asphyxiate. Due to my Asylum Surgeon ring saving me Adrenaline, I refrain from using my Adrenaline potion, get into the red beam, and Onslaught as soon as possible. I test my Gen-Nips once more, activate my Excalibur, and then I DPS until Telos phases. Phase 3 is arguably the easiest phase, but only if you execute it perfectly. Phase 4 is harder to explain in a panel than it is in the actual video. Subsequently, there will not be much information in this panel. For Phase 4, you have to DPS as normal whilst dodging the mechanics as you usually do. It is important to remember to phase Telos to each font on or directly after a special attack to make your time easier. When you phase to each font, keep in mind that the order is Pure Font, or the green font, to the Volcanic Font, or the red font, and finally to the Corrupt Font, or the black font. Try to combat the so much power attacks with a well-timed Resonance or a Barricade. You can also use Shield Dome if you happen to be on Ancients for an easier time. DPS is normal until Phase 5. Here's an example of a Phase 4 in action. I begin by DPSing Telos down as normal. Once I phase him into the first font, I cast a Corruption Blast on the Golems and run into the font whilst activating Reflect with my wand and shield. I Deado Auto Dragon Breath the Golems and continue DPSing Telos once again. When faced with an Anima Bomb, the ideal thing to do is to debilitate Telos, but as you can see, mine splashed. When on the second font, it is important to not run into the font immediately. Use 2 to 3 abilities on the golems first to ensure that they are dead before Telos is done channeling the second font. Running to the font immediately triggers him to channel the font faster, which may work against your favor. Once the golems are down and Telos is done channeling, be prepared to resonance or barricade the so much power attack. Here, I negated the so much power with a well-timed resonance despite having a golem alive. After that, the rest of phase 4 is just the same as the beginning. Kill golems, DPS Telos, and dodge mechanics. Now that that's all done, we can move into the final part of the kill, Phase 5. I've broken up Phase 5 into 2 different categories, 100% to 350% and 350% to 500% plus. This is due to different things taking different priorities due to the intensity of offensive ability presented by the golems and Telos himself. Keep in mind that Phase 5 is also the phase in which the panels may be the hardest to follow because many things can go differently from how you expected or planned, so try to adapt quickly. Finally, I'd like to state that at any time when volcanic golems are out, they take priority over Telos no matter what. Kill them as soon as possible. For 100% to 350%, begin your kill with a Vuln and G-Staff spec immediately. Then drop your Dreadnought, run to the green beam, and Natural Instinct. If the green beam has spawned in the back, you must deploy another Dreadnought. After your Natural Instinct, cast the Sunshine and begin to Wild Magic, Asphyxiate, and Omnipower Telos. End off with a Deep Impact and then Tsunami the golems. DPS Telos once more, clear your virus, and then finish him off. This is what one of my best Phase 5s between 100 and 350% Enrage looks like. As you can see, I begin with a Vuln plus G staff off the bat. I surge to the back, making sure my Dreadnought is deployed, and make short work of the golems with a Tsunami. Note that I prioritize the golems due to them being volcanics. I continue to DPS Telos, diagonal surge to clear my bleed, and then return to my Sunshine. I DPS as best I know how until the end of the kill. With practice and skill, Phase 5 will always be this easy and simple, or even more so. In fact, I made several mistakes during this Phase 5 and it was still incredibly fast and a sub-font. Now let's move on to Phase 5 from 350% to 500% plus Enrage. For 350% to 500% plus Enrage, you start out Phase 5 the same way, with an immediate Vuln and G-Staff spec plus Dreadnoughts. Once you get into the green beam, Natural Instinct and equip your wand and shield. Then you want to Revenge, Reflect, and Sunshine. Wild Magic, Asphyxiate, and Omnipower Telos, and then start charging a detonation for the minions. Once the detonation is 100%, release it along with the Tsunami in the same tick and swiftly proceed to clear your virus. After the beams have respawned, wait for a rock fall, dodge it, and then begin your onslaught. Finish off the kill as normal. If done correctly, you should almost always have Telos either dead or under 50,000 life points before he begins to charge his insta-kill attack. If you don't have him this close to death or haven't killed him already, it is up to you whether or not to font minions or rely on an acto reset in order to finish the kill. Here are one of my best Phase 5s beyond 350% for an example. Once again, I begin by immediately applying a Vuln and G-Staff spec. I then move into the Green Beam, Natural Instinct, and switch to my Wand and Shield. I then Revenge, Reflect, and then Sunshine. Immediately after my Sunshine, I proceed to kill off the Volcanic Golems as they take priority. I continue to DPS Telos, and my virus is luckily cleared. From there on, I DPS as best I know how until the beams change, and then I onslaught after the rockfall. Still, I wasn't quick enough, and I prepare for the next round. Adapting quickly, I reflect the rock I was unable to dodge and quickly DPS Telos down to death. With practice, phase 5s are usually this easy or even easier. It's just about the ability to adapt to different situations and follow a decent DPS rotation. Now that the actual kill is done and explained, I'll be giving out a few small pointers that I couldn't find a place for previously. First, foremost, and most importantly, alter your strategy based on what you feel is most comfortable and effective for you. At the end of the day, a guide will not be the way to perfect your skills. The guide only serves as a basis or, well, a guide. It's up to you to make the strategies presented into your own and alter them as you see fit. Secondly, if you are often inconsistent with proper phasing for the so much power attack, I recommend bringing an Arcane Shield, which, with enough prayer points, is able to reduce the damage of the so much power attack by 30%. I also recommend the Maniacal Aura. Although initially a glass cannon, when used with expertise, the Maniacal Aura is by far the best asset to help you in your Telos kills. Get this aura as soon as you can if you plan to do 100 to 500% plus streaks or are going for the Warden title. It's a huge help. At 500% plus, no matter the golem type, I find it works best if you prioritize golems at all times during phases 4 and 5. If you forget to Dedo auto wild magic for a Tendrils attack, then your first priority should be to wild magic. If you can't, then asphyxiate. If you can't do that either, then Guthic Staff spec. If all three of these are out of the option, then just try your best to out DPS the Tendrils. Good luck. Crappy phasings can be saved. Don't feel demotivated or think your kill is doomed if you phase terribly. Adaptation is important, and there are ways to counter bad phasings. Some of the bad phasings that happen to me most often are Phase 2 into Phase 3 on or directly after Tendrils end, phasing into the second font on Phase 4 after 2 to 3 regular attacks, which basically means he's going to use a so much power attack before my defensives can recharge. For the Phase 2 into Phase 3 on or directly after Tendrils, you can simply Metamorphosis and DPS Telos as best you know how, whilst keeping him out of the red beam. Also, try not to keep more than 2 golems alive for too long. If you do this, Phase 3 may be slow, but it'll still be successful with little hassle. As for the bad second font in Phase 4, all you have to do is make sure you kill the golems fast and then break Telos' freedom with an impact. Next, you asphyxiate and then deep impact Telos, and your defenses will be ready by the time he uses his so much power, so long as none of those attacks have splashed. That's the last of what I can think to offer you guys for your glorious journey to the Warden title, or just to perfect your 100 to 500% streaks. If there is anything you spotted that you feel is wrong or could be improved, then please do not hesitate to inform me, as I plan to revisit this guide in the future, as there's sure to be at least a few things that can be improved. I truly hope this guide helps some of the people that have been frustrated over Telos lately, and that they are now able to push or streak at least a little more consistently. If this guide helped you, or you think it is helpful, then please do leave a like, and if you're new, subscribe. I worked very hard on it after all. With that, I bid you all a wonderful day and an even better tomorrow. Mega T22 is out.